left to die in the dust. The twin suns burned hot over the dry alien desert. Wind carried dust across the empty land. No one lived here. No one came here. Except to die. A young alien woman lay on the ground. Her skin was cracked, blue blood dry, around the wounds on her arms and face. Her body was weak. She had not eaten for days. Her lips moved slightly, trying to call for help, but no sound came. Her name was Kira. She had been left here by her own family, thrown out like trash. In her world, only the strong were accepted. She was born small, weak, and quiet. Her father was a great warrior. Her mother feared shame. When Kira refused to fight in the clan battles, they said she was cursed. They tied her hands, carried her far from the city, and left her to the vultures. Now, those vultures circled above. Their sharp wings sliced the sky. Their black eyes watched her closely, waiting for her to die. One landed nearby, clicking its beak. Kira didn't move. She couldn't cry. There were no more tears. Suddenly, the vulture screamed. A loud sound echoed through the air. Bang! The vulture dropped dead beside her, its body smoking. Another shadow blocked the sun. Boots crunched on dry soil. A figure stood over her. He wore heavy armor, strange to her eyes. A helmet covered his face, glowing faintly. The figure knelt beside her. She blinked slowly. The helmet came off. It was a man, a human. His skin was pale, his eyes a deep brown. He looked shocked to see her in such a broken state. "Are you alive?" he asked softly. Kira didn't understand the words, but she heard his tone. He was not angry. He sounded worried. She tried to move. Pain shot through her side. Her body trembled. The human opened a small pack on his back and pulled out a silver bottle. He gently lifted her head and poured water onto her lips. Some spilled, but she managed to swallow a few drops. It was cold. It felt like life. The human smiled. "Good," he said. She looked at him with confusion. Why was he helping her? He was not one of her kind. She had always heard that humans were dangerous, wild, unpredictable. But this man, he didn't feel dangerous. He looked at her injuries. Her arms were bruised, her ankle twisted. He wrapped her wrist with cloth and pressed something cool against her forehead. Then carefully he picked her up in his arms. She was too weak to resist. He carried her across the sand. Far away she saw a small black object, his ship. It had landed behind a rock hill. He walked fast, checking the sky for danger. Inside the ship, it was dark and cool. He laid her gently on a soft bed and covered her with a blanket. She shivered. He spoke again, slowly this time. "My name is Daniel. You're safe now." Kira didn't answer, but in her mind, one word formed. Why? Why had he saved her? Back in her village, no one would have. Not even her own mother. As she closed, her eyes, her mind drifted between pain and sleep. She heard soft beeps from the ship. Daniel's voice spoke into a radio. "Found one survivor. Female. Barely alive. Looks like they left her here to die." Kira didn't understand his words, but she felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Outside, the sun sank lower. The sky turned dark red. Far above, another ship watched from the clouds. Unseen eyes were watching the human and the alien girl. The desert was silent again. But this story was only just beginning. "She's not an enemy." Kira woke up with a sharp breath. The soft hum of the ship's engine vibrated in her bones. The blanket around her was warm, but unfamiliar. Her eyes darted around, strange metal walls, buttons glowing, screens showing maps she didn't understand. This was not home. This was a human ship. And then she saw him, the human man from the desert. He sat in a chair nearby, cleaning a long weapon. His armor lay on the floor beside him. His eyes were tired but alert. The moment she moved, he looked up. "You're awake," he said, slowly and clearly, like he hoped she would understand. Kira pushed herself up, pain shooting through her side. She winced. Daniel stood and raised both hands, palms open. Not a threat. I won't hurt you, he said calmly. Kira hissed, a deep sound from her throat. Her kind used it as a warning. Her hand reached for anything sharp but found only a blanket. Daniel noticed and took a step back. I get it, he said. You're scared, you don't know me. He reached into a pouch and pulled out something. A clear pack. Inside, food. Soft, warm bread. Her eyes locked on it. Her stomach growled. He gently placed the food near her on a small tray and walked back to his chair. No sudden moves. No angry voice. Just silence. Kira stared at the bread. Her fingers shook as she reached for it. She sniffed. It's strange, but not poison. Then she took a bite. Warm, soft, real. She ate like a wild animal. Daniel smiled, watching from a distance. You must have been out there for days, he said softly. They really left you to die. She looked at him chewing slowly now. His words meant little, but his tone, his face, told a story. He wasn't mocking her. He pitied her. No one had ever looked at her like that. Daniel pressed a button on a device on his wrist. A soft beep. Then, a robotic voice began to speak in her language. This device is a translator, the voice said. We can now understand each other. Kira's eyes widened. Daniel smiled again. Better? She nodded slowly. Then, her voice came out, weak, dry. Why? Save me? Daniel's smile faded. He looked away. Because no one else did, he said. The silence stretched between them. Then she asked, You are human? He nodded. Yes, my name is Daniel Hayes, from Earth. She looked confused. Earth? He chuckled. A blue planet, cold winters, loud people, dangerous coffee. She blinked. I know nothing of Earth. Well, he said, Earth didn't know about you either, until recently. Kira looked down at her hands. Bandaged. Clean. She whispered. They left me because I was weak. Daniel leaned forward. Then they're wrong. She looked up. You're still alive, aren't you? He said. That means you're stronger than they ever knew. Kira didn't respond. The words felt strange. Wrong. She had always been told the opposite. Suddenly, a loud beep echoed through the ship. Daniel stood up fast. He walked to a panel and pressed a screen. A drone camera showed movement outside. Dust clouds, figures walking, aliens, armed, searching. They're back, Daniel said. Kira's body went cold. They came to finish it, she said. They hunt those who bring shame. Daniel grabbed his gun and armor. Then let them try. No, Kira shouted. They are many. You will die. Daniel turned to her with fire in his eyes. Then I'll die doing what they didn't, protecting someone who deserves better. He walked to the ship door and stopped. He looked over his shoulder. Stay inside. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone but me. Then the door hissed open. Dust storm rolled in, and Daniel stepped out. One man against a hunting party. Kira stood there frozen, heart pounding. No one had ever stood for her. No one had ever risked for her. Was this what humans were like, or was it just him? As the door closed behind him, she whispered the word to herself, for the first time in her life. Friend. Protect the weak. The desert wind screamed outside as Daniel stepped into the storm. He moved fast, but with purpose. His rifle was ready, his armor sealed. His boots crushed dry sand as he climbed the ridge above the ship. Through the dust, shadows, moved 3 figures in dark cloaks, eyes glowing faint red. They carried blades and shock spears, warriors from Kira's own clan. They had returned, but not to help her, not to take her back. They came to end her. Daniel knelt and aimed his rifle. He didn't fire. Not yet. He watched them. One of the cloaked Alien spoke in a rough voice. The human ship is here, she must be inside. Another laughed. Weak creature, still breathing. Pitiful. The third pointed at the tracks in the sand. One set of human boots. Alone, they began walking toward the ship. Daniel clicked a switch. Flash grenade. He rolled it down the hill. Boom. A burst of white light blinded them. The warriors shouted, covering their eyes. Daniel jumped down from the ridge and shouted in their language using his translator. "She's not yours anymore," the lead warrior snarled. "She is nothing. A shame to our bloodline." Daniel raised his rifle. "Then your bloodline means nothing to me." The warrior lunged. Bang! Daniel shot the shock spear from his hand. The weapon exploded in sparks. Another warrior ran toward him. Daniel rolled aside and kicked his leg, making the alien fall face first. The third tried to circle around, but Daniel saw it coming. A quick jab with the butt of his rifle knocked the warrior out cold. 3 warriors. 3. Down Kira had watched everything from the ship's screen. Her hands were shaking. She didn't know whether to cry or scream. No one had ever fought for her. Not like this. Her own father had struck her for speaking too softly. Her mother had turned her face when Kira begged for mercy. And now, a stranger, an alien, stood between her and death. Why? She couldn't understand it. Daniel dragged the warriors into a pit and locked them with a force field. He walked back to the ship, covered in dirt and sweat. The door opened. He stepped inside. She stood there staring at him. He gave her a tired smile. "Told you I'd come back?" She couldn't speak. Not at first. Then she asked, "Why do you keep helping me?" Daniel looked at her, serious now. "Because you were never weak. They just didn't want to see your strength." She looked away. "I don't feel strong." "You don't need to feel it," he said. "You just need to survive. That's enough for now." She walked closer to him. Slowly. Carefully. Then, without saying anything, she placed her hand over his heart. It was not a gesture of romance. It was not tradition. It was something more ancient. Trust. And Daniel understood. The ship beeped again. He turned to the screen. A warning. More ships approaching. Bigger ones. Daniel's voice was calm. "We need to leave," Kira asked. "Where? Will we go?" He looked out the window at the desert. "Someplace they can't find you," he said. "Someplace safe." She nodded. But deep inside, Kira knew the truth. There was no safe place. Not as long as her people hunted her. Not unless she learned to fight too. She looked at Daniel again. This man didn't just protect the weak. He gave them the strength to protect themselves. A broken past, a fragile bond. The stars outside the ship looked peaceful, silent, cold. But inside, memories were loud, especially for Kira. She sat near the window, staring into the black sky, her knees pulled to her chest. Her breathing was slow, but her mind was full of noise. Behind her, Daniel worked on the control panel. The ship had escaped. The desert climbed through the atmosphere and now floated in low orbit above the planet. Still not safe, but far from the clan. Kira had not spoken much since they left the ground. She didn't need to. The silence said enough. Daniel glanced at her, then walked over. He sat down across from her, not too close. "You hungry?" She shook her head. He tried again. "You okay?" Still no answer. But then she whispered, "You ever been hated by your own people?" Daniel didn't speak right away. His eyes looked distant. "Yes," he said softly, "once." Kira turned toward him, surprised. He nodded. "I used to be a soldier. There was a mission. It went wrong. I survived. Others didn't. My commander said I was a coward. Sent home. I lost my name, my team, my place." Kira looked into his eyes. "I know that feeling," she said. "Being alive, but not wanted." She paused. then added, "My mother told the tribe I was a sickness. She said my weakness would spread if I stayed." My father never looked at me again. Daniel's jaw tightened. "No child deserves that," he said. Kira's voice shook. "I tried to prove myself. I trained alone. I studied their ways. I begged to be included." She looked at her hands. "They beat me for speaking. They spat when I walked past." Tears filled her eyes, but she blinked them away. Daniel took out a small tablet and tapped on it. A hologram appeared in front of her. 2 human girls sparring with sticks, laughing. One of them fell and the other helped her up. "This is Earth's military training school," Daniel said. "First lesson they teach, never leave your teammate behind." Kira watched the glowing figures. "I was never anyone's teammate," she said. "You are now," Daniel replied. She looked up slowly. "Why me?" Daniel shrugged. "Because you're still here, after all that pain. That makes you worth something." They sat in silence for a while. The stars outside didn't seem so cold anymore. Suddenly, the ship alarm beeped. Daniel stood and walked to the panel. His face grew tense. "What is it?" Kira asked. "Long-range scan," he said. "A tracking beacon." Her eyes widened. "From my people? Looks like it." She stood up. "They marked me, under my skin. That's how they always find me." Daniel walked over. "Where?" She pulled back the cloth around her neck. A tiny glowing dot pulsed under the skin, barely visible. Daniel took a deep breath. "We'll take it out." She hesitated. "It's linked to my nerves. If you cut it wrong." "I won't," he said. "I was a combat medic. I've done worse in darker places." He opened a medical kit. "No sleep medicine?" she asked. He shook his head. "No time. I'll be gentle." She lay down and gripped the edge of the table. Daniel worked quickly but carefully, his fingers steady, his tools precise. It hurt. She bit her lip until it bled. Then, click. The beacon came free. Daniel crushed it with his boot and tossed the broken parts into a waste unit. Kira breathed out. Sweat covered her face. Daniel gently wiped it with a clean cloth. "You did good." "I'm tired," she whispered. "Sleep," he said. "I'll watch over us." As she closed her eyes, she felt something new. Not fear, not shame, but safety. And, for the first time in her life, she didn't dream of running. She dreamed of standing tall. The monster. They unleashed. The ship floated silently in orbit, far above the desert planet. Inside, Daniel was checking his rifle's energy cells, eyes alert. Kira was resting in the corner, her body still weak from the surgery. She had no beacon, now, but that didn't mean they were safe. They had no idea what was coming for them. Then the alarm screamed. Red lights flashed. Daniel ran to the screen. 1 signal. No, 2. No. 1 huge signal splitting into many smaller ones. Something was falling fast from orbit, coming straight at them. Kira sat up, eyes wide. "What is it?" Daniel didn't answer. He stared at the screen like it was a nightmare come alive. The screen showed it clearly now. A drop pod. Military grade. Clan technology. But not carrying soldiers. Carrying something else. "Bioweapon signature detected," the computer said coldly. Kira's blood turned to ice. "They sent it," she whispered. "The dark thing." Daniel looked at her. "You know it?" Kira nodded slowly. "They use it when they want someone erased. No remains, no evidence, not even bones." Daniel grabbed his gear. "We're not going to wait." He pressed buttons. The ship began to descend. "No!" Kira shouted. "You can't fight it." "Then I'll die trying," he snapped. "But I won't let it come near you." They landed in a rocky canyon. A strange fog covered the ground. The air smelled of rot. Kira stepped out beside him, trembling. "You should stay inside," Daniel said. She shook her head. "No more hiding." Footsteps echoed. but not normal footsteps. These were heavy, slow, wet. Then it appeared, tall, black, covered in armor that looked like bone, eyes that glowed sickly green, claws dripping acid. It had no face, no voice, just one goal: destroy Kira. It roared. Daniel opened fire. Laser rounds struck its chest but did nothing. The creature charged. Daniel rolled aside and fired again, aiming for the eyes. Sparks flew, but the beast didn't stop. It swung its claw. Daniel was thrown back, hit the rocks, didn't move. Kira screamed. She picked up Daniel's rifle. Her hands shook. The beast turned toward her. She fired. One shot hit the leg. It stumbled, slightly. Not enough. The monster leapt. But Kira dove away just in time. She landed hard, shoulder bleeding. She crawled to Daniel. His eyes opened slowly. "I failed," he whispered. "No," she said, gripping his hand. "You protected me. Now I protect you." She stood, weak and bleeding. The beast came closer. She closed her eyes and remembered something. When she was a child, her father told her, "You are a mistake." Now, she whispered, "You were wrong." Kira grabbed a fuel canister from the wreckage, opened the top, waited. When the monster came close enough, she threw it. Daniel shot it mid-air. Boom! Flames covered the creature. It roared, flailing. Kira grabbed Daniel and dragged him behind cover. The monster crashed into the canyon wall, burning, melting, screeching. Then silence. Just wind and smoke. Daniel coughed. "Is it dead?" Kira nodded. "We did it." Daniel looked at her, eyes full of pride. "You're not weak." She smiled through her pain. "Neither are you." Hunted by her own blood, the sun had risen again, casting long shadows over the burned canyon. The creature was dead, its black bones turned to ash, but the danger wasn't over. Daniel's arm was badly hurt. His breathing was slow, ribs bruised. He leaned against a rock while Kira cleaned the wound with water and wrapped it tightly with torn cloth. "You saved me," he whispered. Kira looked up. Her eyes were calm, but inside, fire burned. "You saved me first. Now we're even." Daniel gave a weak smile. "I never wanted to be even." Kira didn't answer. She finished wrapping his arm, then stood. Above them, the ship's emergency light still blinked. Its engine was damaged. They couldn't fly, not yet. But before they could even think of repairs, the sky darkened again. Not clouds, warships, 3 of them. Sleek, fast, deadly, clan ships. Daniel pushed himself up. "They're here for you." "No," Kira said. "They're here for both of us now." The ships landed like thunder. Soldiers poured out, dozens of them. All wore black armor with red symbols. The elite guard, then came the tall one. He wore silver armor and a cloak of beast fur. His face was scarred, his eyes cold. Kira froze. "Who is that?" Daniel asked. She answered quietly, "My brother." The warrior stepped forward and raised his hand. "Kira of the broken blood, you are ordered to surrender." She stepped out from the rocks. "I am not yours to command." "You were born weak," he shouted. "Now you pretend to be strong. You are nothing but a mistake made louder." Daniel stepped beside her. The brother's eyes narrowed. "And this human, you let him touch your shameful life?" "He gave me a life," she replied. "You tried to take it." The soldiers raised their weapons. Daniel raised his rifle even with one arm. "We're not going back," he said. The brother smiled darkly. "Then die." Before the shot could be fired, a loud voice echoed from the sky. "Stand down." Everyone froze. A new ship descended. It was Earth's embassy ship. Sleek white metal, blue flag. Protected by law. Out stepped a tall woman in a clean uniform. An Earth officer. She looked at the scene, at Daniel, at Kira. "I'm Commander Leon of Earth's Peace Fleet," she announced. "This woman is under Earth's protection. Any attack will be seen as war." Kira's brother laughed. You protect this filth? Commander Leon stepped forward calmly. Earth protects those who are abandoned. You leave now, or Earth will respond. Tension filled the air. Soldiers stood frozen, fingers near triggers. Kira looked at her brother and said clearly, You never broke me. You only proved what I was. And what is that? He growled. A survivor, she said. A silence fell. Her brother clenched his fists, then gave the order. Fall back. The soldiers slowly stepped back into their ships. No war today, just defeat. As the warships rose into the sky, Kira felt her knees weaken. Daniel caught her. You did it, he said. No, she replied. We did it. Commander Leon walked to them. You both need rest. We'll take you to the main station. You're safe now. Kira looked at Daniel. He nodded. Safe sounds. Good. But as they walked toward the ship, Kira stopped. She looked back at the desert, at the place where she was left to die, and now, where she had stood strong. She said nothing. She didn't need to. Her past no longer owned her. She chose to live. The medical bay of the Earth station was quiet. Kira sat on a white bench beside the window. Through the glass, she could see the stars, and beyond them, her home world. The planet that had cast her out. The sky that had once promised death now seemed smaller, weaker. Daniel lay asleep on a nearby bed, his arm wrapped tightly in clean bandages. His chest rose and fell, steady. The machines beside him beeped slowly. She hadn't spoken to him since they arrived. Not because she didn't want to, but because words still felt small. For most of her life she had been silent, but that silence had always come from fear. Now it came from peace. Commander Leon entered quietly and stood beside her. The Earth officer glanced at Kira's face, then at the stars. You'll have to make a choice soon, she said. Kira nodded. I know. Earth is offering you sanctuary, Leon continued. But the Galactic Council is watching. Your people still claim you're unstable. If you stay with us, they might challenge our decision. Kira finally spoke. Then let them try. Leon smiled. That's the spirit. She turned and left, boots clicking against the metal floor. Kira sat for a moment longer, then stood, and walked to Daniel's bed. She sat beside him, touching his fingers gently. He stirred, slowly opened his eyes. Hey, he said, voice rough. You look terrible, she replied, trying not to smile. Daniel smirked. Still alive, though. They sat quietly for a few seconds. Then Kira said something she had never said to anyone before. Thank you, Daniel blinked. For what? For choosing me? When I had no worth? When I had nothing? He shook his head. You were never nothing. You were just hidden, covered in pain. She swallowed hard. I want to live, she said. Daniel looked at her, serious now. Then live, but not in hiding, she said. I want more. I want to stand, speak, fight. You will, he said. You already are. A knock came at the door. An Earth officer entered. We're ready. Council members have gathered. Kira is to speak. Daniel looked at her. Are you ready? Kira stood, her back straight, her face calm. I was born ready. I just didn't know it. The council room was large, circular, and filled with beings from dozens of worlds. Some had scales, others had fur. A few floated in small hover chairs. But they all watched her as she entered. She wore a plain gray suit. Her scars were visible, her eyes sharp. The Earth delegation sat beside her. Across the room, her brother stood with the clan representatives. He still wore armor, his face full of disgust. Kira stepped into the center. A voice from the speaker said, Kira of Clan Visari, you have been labeled unfit, abandoned by your kin, and marked for termination. Earth challenges this judgment. You may speak. Kira looked around. She took a deep breath. Then, in her own language, translated aloud in every tongue, she began, I was born into a clan that worshipped strength, but only one kind of strength. The strength to strike, to kill, to crush others. Her voice grew, stronger, but there is another strength. The strength to survive, the strength to stand after being broken, the strength to feel pain and still choose to live. Gasps filled the room. My family said I was cursed. They left me in the desert to die. But I lived. A stranger from another world pulled me from death. He fought for me. Not because I was useful, but because I was alive. She turned to her brother. You said I was weak. But you brought weapons, monsters, and armies to destroy me. And still, I'm standing here. She raised her voice. You fear me not because I am weak, but because I am finally strong. The room exploded with noise, whispers, debates, murmurs of shock. Even her brother took a step back. One council member stood. We have heard enough. The accusation of weakness is withdrawn. The bounty on Kira's life is cancelled. She is free. Earth's delegation applauded quietly. Her brother looked furious but powerless. Kira took a deep breath and bowed her head. Then she walked out of the room, free for the first time in her life. Weeks passed. Daniel healed slowly, but he smiled. More Kira trained daily, sometimes with Earth's defense units, sometimes alone. She no longer wore the colors of her old clan. She designed her own symbol, a broken circle with a flame in the center. Daniel asked her once, "What does it mean?" She said, "It means the fire never truly dies." He nodded. Fitting. One night, as the two of them sat watching the stars, Daniel turned to her. "What will you do now?" Kira smiled. "I will help others like me. The ones thrown away, the ones no one sees." Daniel looked at her for a long time, then he said, "You know, you're not alone anymore." She looked back at him. "I know," she said, and for the first time, not just in her voice, but in her heart. There was no pain behind her words, only strength, only life, only hope.